Hi, it's Lionel Yo, tech lead and partner at Westport. And today I'm doing a public service announcement on how not to waste your time during COVID-19. The first point is stop attending webinars. Webinars are a tremendous waste of time. Let me give you the reasons why. Number one, most webinars are hastily put together. They rope up a few people here, grab them together and say, hey, do you want to talk? The content level that's provided in a webinar is usually very, very low, especially those that have 3 or 4 people on a panel. Just think about it, right? How deep could you be if it's a 2 hour or 1.5 hour webinar? How deep into a topic can you go? There's always a limit. The people who are doing these things are probably doing it every single day. It's the same amount of content, and it's not the deep dive content that you all want. So don't use webinars. Think about the math behind a webinar. If you have 4 people for 2 hours, that's half an hour each of content, each person. How deep can you go? And if there are 100 people spending their time, you've spent 200 hours wasting on a webinar. So don't use webinars. What you should do, 2 things. YouTube channels. YouTube channels are excellent. I have been using YouTube channels to get my daily information from people like Patrick Shu, the tech lead, Mariuko, Alex Berman, follow him every single day, Jason Whaling, and the Codaholic. Codaholic's pretty good. YouTube quality is excellent. Like, let me explain to you how much pain I suffer every day when I re-edit my videos. If I provide poor content, right, I have to suffer re-editing that stuff and really thinking about all the subscribers, whether you guys are going to benefit from it. And it's excruciating. I have thrown away 5 to 6 different videos just going ahead looking at myself saying, gee, I don't think that qualifies. So the quality of YouTube is surprisingly very, very good. The benefit is that if you don't like something that's along the way, you can skip towards the end, you can jump, you can go around production, and you don't have to wait for what we call coffee talk or content that has no information. So YouTube is one of them. The other one that I really like is podcast. Podcast is usually a much longer format, 1.5 hours, where someone is actually interviewing a knowledge person. So I love things like the one with Drew Houston. I love the one with Elon Musk because these over 1.5 hours, you can really deep dive into certain topics. And the people doing the podcast are usually very good. They've done a lot of research. They dig really, really deep and ask those kind of questions. So you want to learn a lot from podcasters and YouTube. Forget webinars. This is a COVID idea. It just doesn't work. So that's the first point. The second point, stop wasting your time indiscriminately learning stuff. I see so many people on LinkedIn announcing they've done this certificate, that certificate, AWS certificate, all this kind of stuff. Learn this. Stop wasting your time. The average course on the internet is something that you go through and within 2 or 3 weeks, you've forgotten the entire thing. The main reason is 2 factors. One, it's only very shallow diving, okay? There's only so much you can learn in a very short period of time, even though they promise all this kind of stuff. The second and bigger reason is practice. If you learn something that you don't put into practice, you are going to forget it almost instantly. And I found the same thing, especially when I'm learning something just out of looking at something interesting. So maybe Rust or Elixir. What I really find really beneficial is when I am faced with a technical problem and I want to learn something to solve that thing and put it into action. So to give you an example, over the last month, I'm refining my understanding of Docker. I had a problem and I think Docker could solve it, and I'm starting to investigate it. It doesn't mean I will master Docker, but I am able to put into practice what I'm learning, and I feel much more benefit out of that. The other thing that you guys can do is go and learn something that you can do practical on. So learning a simple basic language, say Python or Vue.js, and putting a small little project on your computer over time, over this lockdown period, is much more beneficial than learning something fantastically complex, say like AWS management, Elasticsearch, or one of these things like Lambda functions. You won't be able to apply it during this period of time, and it will go. The third point, right, is stop wasting your time on what we call social noise. I see so many of these chatters going on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and all this stuff, right? Especially what we call some sort of LinkedIn bait, where I ask a question and I get responses and I sort of follow up on these kind of responses. What you should be doing, right, which I highly encourage, is one-to-one social pinging. Just go out there, call a friend, message a friend and say, hey man, how are you going? How is COVID treating you? How are you taking these kind of problems? And just relate to them over a short period of time. This is extremely beneficial for everybody here. We are all under social pressure. Everyone's feeling isolated, and you could do a whole lot just by acknowledging that someone else exists. I think that's a huge amount of benefit. It's great for your psyche. You may learn a few things out of somebody and you'll definitely help them out. So these are 3 reasons how to stop wasting your time during these lockdowns. I hope you find it very beneficial and I hope you take it to heart. Okay guys, I'm the Tech Lead and that's the bottom line because the Tech Lead said so.